All right, today we're going to set sail into the world of an ancient civilization whose influence is, well, pretty much everywhere, even if you don't hear their name all that often. They were the true masters of the sea, and their story is kind of hiding in plain sight.
So, what if I told you about a people who built their incredible power not with huge armies and bloody conquests, but with ships and trade? A massive commercial empire that connected the entire ancient world. And what if that same culture was responsible for one of the most powerful tools in all of human history? I'm talking about the very alphabet we use to write and read every single day. A civilization that, even after being conquered and basically swallowed up by other empires, never really, truly vanished? Yup, we are talking about the Phoenicians, masters of the sea, captains of ancient industry, and incredible innovators whose legacy is, like I said, hiding right under our noses. So who exactly were these people? Well, they came out of the Canaanite culture way back around 1500 BCE. And here's the thing, the Phoenicians weren't one big unified kingdom. Nope. They were a network of super powerful, independent city-states dotted along the coast of modern-day Lebanon. Think of cities like Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. These were the bustling hubs of a civilization built entirely on the sea. Okay, so how did they pull this off? See, unlike the huge land-based empires like Egypt or Babylon, the Phoenicians played a totally different game. They weren't really interested in conquering territory. Their empire was an empire of trade routes, of markets, a vast commercial network built on the waves of the Mediterranean. And boy, did they have the goods to make it work. Their ships were packed with the legendary cedars of Lebanon, absolutely beautiful glassware, wine, and even silver that they were sourcing from all the way over on the Iberian Peninsula. But their most prized export, well, that was a legendary color. And this brings us to the famous Tyrian purple. I mean, this stuff was legendary. Discovered around 1570 BC, this incredible dye was painstakingly extracted from thousands upon thousands of tiny sea snails. The whole process was a top secret, making this color so ridiculously rare and expensive that it became the status symbol for kings, queens, and emperors across the entire ancient world. And this focus on business really shaped their whole society. Their city-states were basically the world's first mercantile republics. They weren't run by warrior kings or generals, but by a council of powerful merchant families. Their main goal wasn't military glory. It was securing trade routes and making a profit. This brings us to Section 2, Masters of Innovation. Because when your entire civilization is built on trade, you have to get really, really good at it. To be the best traders, the Phoenicians also had to become the best engineers, the best navigators, and the sharpest thinkers of their day. You can see their genius most clearly in their ships. They perfected these techniques like the mortise and tenon joint, which created unbelievably strong hulls that could handle long, tough voyages. Then, around 700 BCE, they came up with the bireme, a warship with two whole decks of rowers. This thing gave them a serious edge in speed and power on the water. But their greatest innovation, man, this one changed the world. They looked at these really complex pictographic scripts, all these little pictures you had to memorize, and they simplified everything down to a 22-character phonetic alphabet. One symbol, one sound. It was so simple and so efficient that the Greeks adopted it, then the Romans adopted it, and it became the direct ancestor of the alphabet you and I are using right now. Section 3, Conquest and Decline. But you know how these stories go. No empire, no matter how rich or clever, lasts forever. All that success eventually made the Phoenicians a target for the big military powers of the time, and it all led to a dramatic showdown that would spell the end of an era. So, the year is 332 BCE, and a guy named Alexander the Great rolls up to the gates of Tyre. He makes what seems like a simple request. He wants to offer a sacrifice in their holy temple to the god Melkart. But for the people of Tyre, this was a non-starter. Their religious law was absolute. No foreigners were allowed inside their most sacred space, so they told him no. And it wasn't just a polite refusal. It was a shocking, brutal act of defiance. To make their point crystal clear, the Tyrians killed Alexander's messengers and hurled their bodies from the top of the city's massive walls. They had just declared war on the most feared conqueror the world had ever known. What happened next was one of the most famous sieges in all of history. See, Tyre was an island fortress, considered completely unconquerable. And for 7 grueling months, its people held out against Alexander's entire war machine. It's just an incredible testament to their skill and their sheer will to resist. Alexander, absolutely furious, decided to do the impossible. He ordered his army to build a giant causeway, a land bridge stretching all the way from the mainland out to the island. After months of fighting, his massive siege towers finally reached the walls, and the city fell. The age of Phoenician independence was over. But here's the thing. Even in total defeat, the Phoenician story doesn't really end. While their cities were conquered, their influence was just too deep, too widespread to ever be erased. It just kept echoing on through time. So, does the fall of Tyre mean the end of the Phoenicians? Not even close. See, a legacy isn't just about holding territory. It's about ideas. And their ideas were powerful. As the eastern city-states fell to foreign powers, the center of Phoenician power just shifted west. The colony of Carthage, which had been founded by Tyre over in North Africa, rose up to become a massive empire in its own right. It carried the torch of Phoenician culture and trade, and would famously go head-to-head with Rome in the Punic Wars. And that super powerful idea of theirs, the alphabet, was already out there, going viral, ancient world style. Just look at this. The Phoenician letter aleph, which was a symbol for an ox, evolved directly into the Greek alpha, and then into our Roman A. Their sounds are literally our sounds. So when you add it all up, yeah, their civilization was eventually absorbed by others, but its contributions became the bedrock of the cultures that came next. Our writing, our very ideas about global trade, even lasting symbols of power like royal purple, you can trace the roots of all of it straight back to the Phoenicians. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The Phoenicians are proof that a civilization's greatest legacy isn't always in the giant monuments it leaves behind, but in the invisible ideas that quietly go on to shape the future. What other foundational innovations are we all using every day without having a clue where they came from?